This is Donald Trump designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization is putting this country to the test. And that is with this executive order. YouTube,
good,
X, Facebook, they're going to have to ban all of these people posting these images. It is now a violation of the law. Depending on what happens with this executive order, there's a question that will be asked. As the Krasensteins post that they are Antifa, as many prominent liberals post the flag and say they are Antifa, if social media companies say that is fine, that means a large portion of our domestic infrastructure, tech infrastructure, economy is telling the federal government they are illegitimate. Now, lawsuits with a stay, that would be interesting. But there's a very real question now. Declaration of a terrorist organization. You cannot go on YouTube and post ISIS stuff. They'll ban you. And there's arguments that you could be charged for providing support to a terrorist organization. Here's what the White House executive order says. Section 1, Antifa is a terrorist threat. Antifa is a militarist anarchist enterprise that explicitly calls for the overthrow of the United States government, law enforcement authorities, and our system of law. It uses illegal means to organize and execute a campaign of violence and terrorism nationwide to accomplish these goals. This campaign involves coordinated efforts to obstruct enforcement of federal laws through armed standoffs with law enforcement, organized riots, violent assaults on immigration and customs enforcement and other law enforcement officers, and routine doxing of and other threats against political figures and activists. Antifa recruits, trains, and radicalizes young Americans to engage in this violence and suppression of political activity. That employs elaborate means and mechanisms to shield the identities of its operatives, conceal its funding sources and operations in an effort to frustrate law enforcement and recruit additional members. Individuals associated with and acting on behalf of Antifa further coordinate with other organizations and entities for the purpose of spreading, fomenting, and advancing political violence and suppressing lawful political speech. This organized effort designed to achieve political objectives by coercion and intimidation is domestic terrorism. Because of the aforementioned pattern of political violence designed to suppress lawful political activity and obstruct the rule of law, I hereby designate Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. All relevant executive departments and agencies shall utilize all applicable authorities to investigate, disrupt, and dismantle any and all illegal operations, especially those involving terrorist actions conducted by Antifa or any person claiming to act on behalf of Antifa, or for which Antifa or any person claiming to act on behalf of Antifa provided material support, including necessary investigatory and prosecutory actions against those who fund such operations. They say general provisions. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law. This order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law, or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. This order shall be published in the Federal Register. Donald J. Trump. Now, the reality of this is it actually does very little formally. Trump may now say that they're going to target people flying the Antifa symbol, citing that as probable cause that they may be associated with other organizations that are funding violent riots and things like this. So RICO is what they're probably looking at for some of these NGOs that are providing various types of support for these acts of terror. Socially, Trump has said these are terrorists. Your move, YouTube. Will YouTube start taking down people who claim that they are? Will Elon Musk?
I think that the administration is going to actually have to apply a little bit of pressure. They're going to have to, let these organizations know that this is not just, for posturing. This is serious, that they're going to be looking to involve the DOJ. But I imagine that just a little bit of pressure from the feds, from the DOJ, and your X, your Facebook, they'll fall in line pretty quickly because they were kissing Trump's ring as soon as Trump was, likely to become elected.
Yeah, I mean, the problem here is obviously there's no legal mechanism for a domestic terrorist organization. You have foreign, obviously, but there's nothing for domestic. But what this can do is sort of reorient the IC towards Antifa. You're basically putting Antifa on the radar of the FBI. So now the FBI can conduct surveillance and clandestine operations to collect information. You can, now you can redirect everyone for civil suits. RICO obviously puts RICO on the table. So, I mean, yeah, like Tim's saying, unfortunately, there's not really a mechanism he's activating here, but this is more of a warning shot saying, hey, everyone,
Yeah.
Let's concentrate fire here on Antifa.
But this came out today. Like, let's say that they're going to try to figure out, okay, it's either YouTube and X's move to implement something proactively, or somebody in the federal government, Stephen Miller or otherwise, has to figure out how to implement this with existing laws. Like, the window of opportunity for doing something with a political mandate is almost over already, right? Like, it should have been, if this was going to be implemented last week, that there was the warning shot. And then this week, there should actually be a full solution rolled out. Because what? In another week from now, you know, Jimmy Kimmel having been lionized, a bunch of the people that would have been canceled now having been lionized as well. The blowback is only going to become greater and greater as time goes on without implementation of anything to this effect. Like, I basically think it's this week or something else horrible has to happen before anybody's going to care.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to get Congress on board to pass any sort of legislation so they could like start freezing funds, basically treating them like a foreign, because I mean, we have a lot of laws in the books for foreign terrorist organizations, but I mean, like you said, the mandate's kind of expiring. I don't know how much heat's on Congress to really get anything across the finish line here. That's what you would need. You need you know, everybody on board. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it is promising, I suppose, but I totally agree. This should have been a week ago, and this is the week we should have been, you know, implementing a lot of offensive options.
Real quick, who do we talk to about throwing the Krasensteins in Alligator Alcatraz?
No,
Definitely.
El Salvador.
That's fine. Somalia.
I don't actually want them to go to jail for being silly little liberals. But there's a question about support for Antifa with Trump's declaration. And I do have questions about how you handle this. My argument would be, from this point forward, all statements made would be bannable offenses. I have the rules here from Google. Featured policies, violent extremism, content produced by or in support of terrorist organizations is prohibited on YouTube, including content that promotes terrorism by glorifying terroristic acts or inciting violence. Terrorist organizations are also prohibited from using YouTube for any purpose, including recruitment. So I have a video here. Oh, wow. Actually, I'm going to pull up this one instead because it's our good friend Hassan. Hassan's scared. Take a look at his video. This video is titled, "I am an anti-fascist." He did not say I'm Antifa. Hassan Piker, you see him put on a MAGA hat? MAGA hat. So there are a bunch of videos that I was going to pull up where they say I am Antifa and things like this. Or they bring on people purported to be Antifa and it makes them look good. Hassan's scared.
Yeah.
He's saying I'm an anti-fascist. That's a very specific term. Antifa is not the same thing. Now, the question is, will he fly that flag? Point being, I believe that with this declaration from Trump, YouTube must now delete all of these videos. They have to. If there's a lawsuit after the fact, perhaps they can return them. But for right now, this is the question. If YouTube does not delete them, that shows that our social order is formally bifurcated. The example being when the Biden DOJ falsely accused my show of being funded by Russians, for which there was never any evidence, and they closed it without ever presenting evidence, YouTube deleted all of the episodes off of YouTube. Only from that period. So here's the thing. The Culture War show existed before Tenet, during, and after. YouTube deleted every segment of that show, the clips we do, like 10-minute clips, from the period by which we had a licensing deal with Tenet Media. There was never any evidence provided. There was never any claim of supporting terrorism or anything like that. YouTube just deleted some 400 segments. In December of last year, the DOJ dropped the investigation, said they would no longer pursue it, presented no evidence. In April of this year, the DOJ completely closed the case. There's never anything there, nothing there. It was fake from the get-go. If YouTube is going to do that on behalf of the Biden DOJ, why would they not take down Antifa after a terrorist declaration? If they don't, and the presumption is they won't, I bet they will not do it. We already knew that our social order is fractured, totally bifurcated, but this is massive. Donald Trump, under legitimacy of government, is saying, this is terrorism. Here's the declaration, and YouTube has banned violent extremism.
I won't be surprised if they don't. I mean, look how all the tech companies coordinated against Alex Jones years ago for just asking some questions. And then what you're saying with Tenet, I have a feeling they're not going to do it because they're so aligned. I know they're trying to get in Trump's good graces and they're having dinners with him, but I have no faith in these companies.
Do you think that the DOJ would be able to apply pressure? Or do you think that the DOJ wouldn't apply pressure and that's why they wouldn't do anything?
I don't know. They might, but I don't know if these companies are almost bigger than the government, you know? Like they've been in charge and getting money from all the administrations for so long. They're huge. They're their own country to some degree with their own reality. So I don't know if pressure will do it unless but you know, Biden did pressure them, but it's because they were so aligned. So I don't know.
See, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how far Trump's willing to go, but I do think that just, you know, DOJ sending a letter like that makes people, you know, wake up and say, oh, this might actually land me in a congressional hearing. This might actually have DOJ have sent people out to start an investigation. And no company wants that. Yeah. No matter how big the company is, the federal government can make their lives absolutely terrible. They can make it difficult to do, you know, to do day-to-day business. I don't think that the influence of just the DOJ saying, "Hey, we want to see some results here. This is a law. You know, this is actually enforceable. So you need to do something, and you need to prove that you're actually going to do this, or we're going to look at you for supporting material support for terrorism."
Mm-hmm. I mean, it'd be interesting to see the difference because they're going to outwardly say that, the DOJ, to the companies allegedly. Meanwhile, the Biden administration used the back door to strong arm Zuckerberg to censor all these people, among other platforms, and they did it. So it'd be interesting to see the difference.
So what are you saying? You're saying that because I think they're you believe they're mostly politically aligned with the left.
Yeah.
You think that they would go ahead and say, well, we'll talk to the DOJ and we'll make it look like we're doing it, but we won't actually.
Because I didn't really buy their rebranding into being MAGA this go around. I think it's just a front. Well, so they're still left aligned.
And there's this political reality, right? Like, how did Trump win? A variety of ways, but in no small part because of like the David Sachs fundraiser where he got tech bought into donating to the campaign, and then Elon's participation in Pennsylvania, right? So if the DOJ were to pressure tech, right, then this unlikely alliance that was instrumental in the fundraising for all of the GOP probably instantaneously implodes, and then like the next election, the midterms, whatever, that donor base is gone, and then what's the coalition left, right? Like it's this very strange synthesis between Silicon Valley and like the traditional GOP that exists now, and that might disincentivize them from doing anything.
Because I don't trust them. I don't trust Altman. I don't trust Zuckerberg. I mean, a lot of these people, the Hoffmans, a lot of the people who were at Project Stargate, because just a few years ago, they were censoring me and my friends off of platforms for saying things they didn't believe.
You want to know what's funny, guys? Just real quick as an aside. Do you guys remember how last week I said that I believe that there were coded weights placed on this channel and others, preventing them? Literally like a day after I said that, I started getting notifications again. So I have an alert set up for my YouTube channels. When there's mention made of Timcast or any Timcast affiliated brand, I have Google alerts for it. These YouTube videos will never appear. It means they weren't being recommended. Probably about a day after I said there are probably legacy censorship weights attached to these channels, the next day I get an email with a Google alert showing 10 different recommendations my videos were appearing in. Yep.
Someone's listening.
Well, there was also a few years ago, you could not Google search any of my channels. And what would come up instead was playlists about my channels. And if you actually typed in the full title of one of my videos, you would not actually get the video. It'll give you Facebook instead. And then I mentioned it on IRL, and literally during the show, people were like, holy crap, it's gone. I just searched for it. First it wasn't there, I refreshed, and now it's back. And you can now search for my channel.
Because for years, you typed Timcast into YouTube and it was nothing. It wouldn't be you. Now it has changed. I noticed that recently. So that's a good sign, I guess.
I will say one thing that's very strange is, without naming any of these channels, there are some channels that I searched for on the liberal side and they're not coming up. Indeed. I wonder if it's a similar weight placed on a lot of political channels. Liberal or conservative, didn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah.
But therein lies the big question. With this designation, will our social order react as though this is legitimate or illegitimate? And if they react as though it's illegitimate and do not respond the way they're supposed to respond, what's Trump going to do? This is the fear, right? So I was talking with Will Chamberlain a while ago about why the Supreme Court is unwilling. This was specifically the Texas v. Pennsylvania case in 2020. And only Alito and Thomas were willing to actually take up the case. It's state versus state, so that's called original jurisdiction. And Texas was challenging Pennsylvania's unilateral altering of their election laws, saying it's unconstitutional. And if they are violating their rules, this election is unfair. The other 5 justices refused to take it up. I asked Will, why wouldn't they do it? And he said, the Supreme Court is concerned about taking up cases that require enforcement ability that they don't have. Because if people realize that the Supreme Court doesn't actually have the ability to enforce their rulings, it's over for the Supreme Court. So typically they take up things where it gets sent back to the states to enforce at their level. But if they handle something state versus state and Pennsylvania says, screw yourself, the Supreme Court has no force, no law enforcement, no military apparatus. They can't do anything about it. The issue here with Trump, and a lot of people are saying Trump should do this, Trump should do that. There's a reason why Trump is going slow. If Trump got into office and the first thing he did was announce he was going to arrest Democrats, it wouldn't work. Many of these individuals in law enforcement would be like, I don't know, man, like this is crazy. I'm not going to do it. And then Trump would be shown to be the emperor with no clothes. Nothing would happen and he'd be impotent forever. Mm-hmm. That's why many people have been saying he's going slow about it. He needs to build it up to this point where there are various criminal charges and the arrest of these individuals seem to be more commonplace, like Letitia James over her mortgage fraud stuff. This is a step off the cliff. Donald Trump designating Antifa a terrorist organization is now putting pressure on all social media, television, big tech, etc. Emails now have to be turned over. Like so I already searched. There's a ton of social media accounts across the board that are dedicated Antifa accounts posting Antifa propaganda. All their DMs need to be turned over, not to law enforcement. Is Elon going to do that? Is he going to say that all these Antifa accounts now, people flying the flag, the Krasensteins? You don't got to arrest the Krasensteins or put them in jail or ban them. The designation happened now, but certainly, wouldn't he have to turn over their communications as terrorists?
What would be the input? What would be the benefit for him not doing it?
If he doesn't do it, it's not just about Elon. It's about what would the benefit be for him to not do it? Yeah,
like if Trump or the DOJ is like, look, we know there are a bunch of Antifa affiliated accounts. Send us their logs, blah, blah, blah.
And so it's not so, I think that question is kind of weird. There is a detriment to doing it. The benefit would be nothing changes for him in terms of the structure of his business. The fear would be that liberals will dump the platform more than they already have. But then the other concern is if he doesn't do it, he's in violation of Trump. He just sat down with the man and shook his hand.
Yeah.
Trump's saying they're terrorists. Yeah, okay, Trump has made this declaration. Now, by all means, they will sue. I imagine someone's going to sue. But here's the funny thing. You know why they can't? You know why you can't do anything about it? What? Antifa's not an organization.
I mean,
it's an idea.
If he's like, hey, we want the logs for, Rose City Antifa, there are people that
Indeed, Rose City can file a lawsuit as an organization. Mm-hmm. But the general distinction, when he declares Antifa as a terrorist organization, they have already made the argument there is no representative Antifa. They're in a weakened position. Now, if these big tech companies, and just any company, if a motel, if they refuse to turn over this information, not so much, but the big tech is the big important one, because if YouTube keeps up these Antifa videos, if Instagram keeps up these accounts, they're outright saying Trump's authority doesn't mean anything.
I think Elon's problem will be determining who actually he should turn over for the DMs, because it could just be trolls putting up a flag who have no part of anything.
Well, the government's going to make a request and say, we're looking for these accounts, mm-hmm. and Elon can choose to fight or not fight it. The thing is, declaring Antifa a terror organization, there's no one who has standing in court. Rose City Antifa, being one of the most notorious named brands of Antifa, are a specific group. They might be able to sue and argue that as an Antifa flag bearer, they are lumped into this. Sure. Mm-hmm. We'll see. The ACLU may try and take this up. In the meantime, pending any kind of injunction, which, of course, there's already been a stay on these universal injunctions. This is going to get very, very interesting. The pressure now put on these big tech platforms is they have to just comply. I'll tell you this. You know what I want to see? If YouTube does not take down these accounts, I think Trump should go make some arrests. Or I think because it's a corporation, there should be like civil fines and forced testimony and things like that.
Arrest who?
That's the question, right? When it comes to a corporation, I suppose it goes down to the CEO, and the CEO is going to be like, look, I don't even handle that. I don't even know who's involved in that. That's why it's difficult to arrest someone over something like this. Typically, you find the company and force it into compliance, which I think makes the most sense.
Yeah, I mean, Google has played ball, like in Georgia with the Stop Cop City thing. That was like 2023. Georgia has a specific state law for terrorism, domestic terrorism, and that's what they use to source emails and data from Google. And they were going after like organizers, so people that were just providing funding and that sort of thing. So I mean, at the state level, there is precedent that Google will play ball if you're using a mechanism, a law that's on the books. Trump has to find that. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think that there are so many CEOs that are really ideologically committed to leftism, right? Like there are some people, and particularly middle management people and people that work at these companies that are committed, but the people that are higher ups, the people that actually have something to really lose if they don't comply with the DOJ, I don't know that they're really committed to Antifa. I'm sure there are a handful of them that are, but like, I don't think Zuckerberg is committed to an ideology. I don't think that he's a leftist.
I don't think he's a human.
I think he's a human.
Oh, Augustus.
Shane has,
Please, don't even start.
Sorry to be the tech liaison.
Shane has a magical ability to derail conversations with his
truth, saying he's a reptile who hates Americans and freedom.
Well, when he was coming up, he was fairly libertarian, and his argument that that's what he should have been doing. I do think that that's honest. Like I said, when the Biden DOJ was making phone calls, that puts a lot of pressure on you. These companies, they have to worry about all of the immense power that the federal government has. So I don't think that he would choose.
He's lied under testimony.
I don't think that he would choose to do things for one administration and not for another on an ideological basis.
I don't think he's beholden to politics. I think he's beholden to his power and his evil.
Money, yeah.
And he's lied under testimony about the algorithm harming little girls, like the algorithm picking up on if a young girl deletes a selfie, then the algorithm knows she must be sad, so we should sell her something. This is like evil stuff, and that's just a little part of the evil stuff. Why I think he's inhuman.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not trying to convince you that he's not.
Yeah,
because I know that's
and I'm just
impossible.
By saying that I'm saying that he's not beholden to politics, and I agree with you.
That's the point that I'm making.
He's beholden to something bigger, like
his
power.
It would be the
metaverse.
If there's anybody that can take power away from him, if there's any organization that can, it would be the federal government, because they actually do have the ability to say, all right, we're going to start investigating you. We're going to put a stop to this. We're going to put a stop to this. We're going to have all these indictments or these investigations. It's going to make his life a nightmare. That's the reason why he's going to be like, all right, I'm going to play ball, not because he's a good guy, not because he's not a reptile or whatever, but because he doesn't want to have to deal with all of the bad things that come along with with not complying with the federal government. What does he care if there's a handful of users that are politically left, that have a commitment to their ideology? What does he care if they get it wrapped up? He's talking about the entire planet. Right? Like he's looking to have his goals are far bigger than what what Antifa's after. So he would turn them over it's my opinion that he would turn them over in an instant, whether or not he's a good guy.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to be a good guy to do that.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.